All right, then. So that'll conclude our modern wrestling portion of this show. Now we get to go do fun stuff. So for the remainder of the show, we're going to do a retro review. We're going to do Monday Night Raw. Well, actually, this was not on Monday. It was on a Friday. So this is Friday, September 6th, 1996. And the previous calendar week, there was no show. So if everyone says, I don't know, if there's a thing that says there's been a Monday night show on every Monday night or every week, there wasn't, because the previous week to this, there was no show. And then on this week in particular, there was no show on Monday. It was on Friday. So there was a big gap between the last Raw that we saw and this one. But they did call this episode was called Championship Friday. So since it was on a Friday. And all these shows were moved around because of the U.S. Open tennis tournament. So the U.S. Open upended Monday Night Raw. So, all right, so usually we show what was happening on WCW on the Monday that we're doing because we have reviewed WCW during these months. This is not from the same day, but this is from earlier in the week. So here's some stuff. Mike Tenay debuted for WCW earlier in this week, and Nick Patrick also under scrutiny for possibly cheating and helping NWO. Sting, this was the day Sting stole a cop car and chased after the NWO.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then the Giant. So while Sting was away, not at the stadium, the Giant joined the NWO. Man, wow. Yeah, WCW is on fire at this point, and WWF is trying to keep up, trying their best to keep up. So, all right, let me go to our review sheet, and I'm just going to follow all the storylines here as it happened on the show. I'm not going to do it in order, but I'm going to go through the storylines one by one. So I have 9 storylines for 1 hour show. So it was basically just 1 hour, and they try to cram in as bunch of storylines as they could. When we do our reviews for the modern shows, for a 3-hour Raw or SmackDown, sometimes there's like 10 to 15 angles. So for one show here, in 1 hour, there was already almost 10 angles. So they were trying to do as much as they could with that 1 hour. But all right, so we had an IC title tournament. And this was something that started the week before because Ahmed Johnson has been hurt. And hold on, let me pull up the TV so I could pull up some pictures of what we're watching. So you guys did watch this and you reviewed it, so we don't have to watch the clips. I will show some clips of stuff that I think was really good. But here's Psycho Sid. So he defeats Triple H. So here's Triple H. And they had this was a first round Intercontinental title tournament match. Vlad, you called this a squash match or a job match, right?
It was I would say it was basically was. I mean, it wasn't really. I mean, I don't think Triple H had a lot in this match. I would say so. I don't know what the word exactly is for a match like this. It wasn't exactly a job match, but it kind of was. Maybe there's another term.
This is the finisher. Here's Triple H up in the powerbomb position. Damn, look at him up in the air and getting slammed down and selling that. So, yep, this is. Sorry, Sid Vicious with the win. So that's the first thing that happened. What were you going to say, Vlad?
Well, I was just going to say how over Sid was at the time is really understated because he was super over right around this time. Like,
here's a Sid fan. Well, there's 2 Sid fans. There's a Sid fan over here. So Sid rules the world.
Sid rules the world, man. Well, it's weird because I've always thought of him as a heel just based on his look and that crazy face, but he's getting over as a face at this time, which is kind of interesting.
He's charismatic. Back then, people were very into charisma. So, all right, so a good win for Sid. He advances in the tournament. So I'm going to jump around on this show. I'm not going to do it in order. But the other one was the other Intercontinental tournament match was Stone Cold against Mark Miro. So here's Sable was with Mark Miro, and here's Stone Cold. But I'm going to show you the finish. So interesting finish here. Hold on, let me take off the clock. We don't need that anymore. All right, so I'm going to do a slow motion here of what happened on the finish, and you can give your thoughts about it. So basically, I think Mark Miro was going to attack him, and Stone Cold, as he's a heel, as you mentioned last week, Vlad, he just pulls the ref into Mark Miro's attack. So here it is in slow motion. So Mark Miro's getting on the apron, and Stone Cold just grabs the ref and pulls him into Mark Miro, who, rams into the ref's stomach. So I'm going to show it again in slow motion. So as Mark Miro gets up on the apron, Stone Cold pulls the ref into Mark Miro's, shoulder attack, I guess. And then the ref calls for a DQ. That's it. And Stone Cold doesn't really listen to that. He's like, I'm the victor. I win. And then they continue fighting. So the fight continues afterwards. And then officials have to intervene and get them apart. So this was a DQ win for Stone Cold, although Stone Cold kind of didn't really care. Seemed like it was...
Was a DQ win for Miro?
Yeah,
for Miro. Yeah. Stone Cold is out of the tournament. So last week he was in a number one contenders battle royal for the WWF title, and then now he's out of the Intercontinental title tournament too. So, all right, reviews. So you guys already watched this show and you reviewed it. So here are your reviews. So I gave the Intercontinental title tournament stuff a thumbs up. Vlad gave it a half thumbs up, and Robert gave it a half thumbs up. So Robert kind of liked it. If anyone's unfamiliar with our rating system, I have a, hold on, let me show it right here. Here's the Malapert Smark rating system for 2025. This is how we review angles and storylines, if we like them or not. So, Robert, you kind of like this, not too much. So, Do you have any thoughts just on the Intercontinental title tournament stuff before I move on to the other storylines?
Sure. Well, there wasn't anything spectacular for either one of the matches. They were just okay. So that's why I gave it a half thumbs up. But I do have a comment that's slightly off topic, because during the Stone Cold match, the commentators did mention Stone Cold earlier in the year winning King of the Ring earlier that year. Okay. Why am I bringing that up is because I've watched a lot of documentaries about the Attitude Era made by WWE, and it's the way they present it. It's kind of like, I would call it revisionist history, because in that pay-per-view, that's when Stone Cold had that famous promo that said, Austin 316 says, "I just whooped your ass." And then, if you watch these documentaries made by WWE about the Attitude Era, the way they present it, it's almost as if Stone Cold skyrocketed after that and became the top star, like almost overnight. That's the way they present it, but that's far from the truth. Because I remember when watching these documentaries, I'm like, I don't remember it happening that way. His rise was much, much slower. He didn't really become the top guy until he started feuding with Vince McMahon. So that was just something I wanted to point out, because I heard the commentators mention him winning King of the Ring earlier that year, and you can tell if you're listening to the fan reaction during his entrance and his match, he wasn't that over. not at that time. They weren't making that much noise for him. But yeah, that's just a side note. But the Intercontinental matches they were okay. Nothing spectacular.
Okay, Vlad also said the same thing. Vlad actually has a comment here. I think he left a comment on the reviews. Let's see what he said. One was a job match and the other ended a DQ. It was just okay. Sid was super over at this time. Okay, so there you go. All right, but there was one thing, unless you want to add something to that, Vlad, and then I'll jump to the Mr. Perfect and Triple H stuff after that.
Yeah, I mean, what Robert just said about the Stone Cold thing was perfect. That was great. I absolutely agree. It was a long haul before he actually really got over. Also, the DQ was kind of weird. I think they could have done it a different way. If they were going to just have Mark Miro move on, I would have had them brawling on the outside, and I don't know. I would have done something else beside this. It didn't really make sense for him to just push the referee like that. They were having a competitive match. He wasn't in any danger of losing at that time. So kind of an odd time for a DQ. But all right. Other than that, no, you can move on.
All right. So one thing from this Intercontinental title tournament match, but I considered it a separate storyline. So that was as Triple H was facing off with Sid Vicious. Not Triple H. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig comes in, and Kurt Hennig has been coming to the ring during Triple H's matches and stealing his woman. I guess Triple H brings a girlfriend with him every time, and Mr. Perfect continuously comes in and just takes his woman, whoever it is. So let me show you some slides from this, how this happened today. So this is Triple H's woman during the show today. So this is who he brought with him to the Sid Vicious match. And then this is them showing a replay of Kurt Hennig taking his last woman on Superstars. I don't know what day Superstars aired, but
it was the weekend.
Seemed like not very much important stuff, but if important stuff did happen, they would tell you about it on the show. So here comes Mr. Perfect during this match. So I didn't really show it to you when I was discussing the match earlier, but it didn't really have to do with the match because basically Triple H was already getting powerbombed and he was about to lose. So he didn't even see Mr. Perfect come in. And then Mr. Perfect goes up to, his chick, Triple H's chick, and then just sweet talks her because he's that smooth, right? He's perfect. And then she just goes with him. So, and then Triple H kind of figures out what happened afterwards at the end. I think he didn't really realize it until the match was over. So that's why I didn't really include that in the Intercontinental title tournament match review because it was kind of separate to me. But all right, so reviews for that one, for the Mr. Perfect stuff. I think I got a half thumbs up from everybody. Vlad says he doesn't remember this going anywhere. So that's what.
Yeah, I don't think this ever did, and I think
it's a funny idea you say, but you don't think it goes anywhere. But
well, I don't remember them even having a match. That's the thing after this. So I think because maybe if I'm remembering correctly, Mr. Perfect or Kurt Hennig goes to WCW shortly thereafter. I don't know when, but pretty soon. So maybe that's why it never happened. They never had that feud.
Robert, do you have any comments on Mr. Perfect going around stealing people's women?
Yeah, so I guess Mr. Perfect probably also goes by another nickname, Mr. Steal Your Girl. Man, I don't know. It was pretty funny to see. I just don't remember what happens from here. It's been so long. I forgot what comes out of this. I don't know.
It's a funny little idea for a wrestling storyline. He comes in. He's too cool. He could just grab any chick he wants and take her away. So, I don't know.
But you know what? Can I say something real quick that I did
Sure.
Real quick. I like the fact that even in this 1 hour show, WWF at the time, right? They were showing stuff that happened in previous shows. So, if you're a newer viewer, at least you kind of understand what's going on. You really don't get that in a lot of modern wrestling, especially in AEW. AEW could really take note of how they show stuff from previous weeks, clips and stuff that connects to the current storyline that they're trying to show that week. I like that. You
don't necessarily need to watch every show to follow the storyline, because they fill you in.
They fill you, and it made sense right away. Okay, he's taking his girl. He's taking all the different women. Okay, fine.
All right, well, I'm going to move on to the next storyline then. Let's see what I got next. I got number 3, Ahmed Johnson. All right, well, I'm not going to play any clips from this, but he did get interviewed. He was interviewed. His doctor was interviewed. Supposedly he's coming back soon. He had to relinquish his IC title and his WWF title shot. So, I don't know. I gave this a thumbs up because, or what did I give? Oh, no, I gave it a half thumbs up. I kind of liked it because I like how they made it. They're trying their best to make it realistic. He's injured. He's really injured badly. Talk to the doctor. Get comments from the doctor. I like when they do that kind of stuff, Excuse me. I've been sick. Still lingering weirdly. But anyways, Ahmed Johnson, unless anyone has any comments, I'm interested on the backstory of why Ahmed Johnson kind of lost his push going from having a WWF title shot and an Intercontinental Championship to basically disappearing off the show within the next year. But I have to do research. I don't know if there's some kind of backstory about this.
There is. There's always a backstory.
They just decided not to do it, I guess. They just decided against it.
There's stuff. I'm sure you'll find it in your research.
All right. Well, if Robert doesn't know anything, then I'm going to move on.
I don't know.
All right, cool. Fourth storyline. Okay, this is an interesting one. So this is has to do with Jim Ross. So I'm gonna play a clip here, and this is before the Stone Cold match, the Intercontinental Title Tournament match. And Jim Ross says later on in the show he has a big announcement to make. So let's watch this in watch-along mode. I'm going to explain again how to do this. If you guys need to zoom in, you get your... well, we can't play full-screen videos here. It gets clipped for copyright. But if I put it real tiny in the corner, and you guys could pinch out with your fingers like that and kind of zoom in. Wait, hold on. Let me take this Okada picture off. There it is. So, I don't know if that showed up. Did you guys see that? Hold on.
I see it. Yeah.
I saw a little.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. There it is. I don't know why it's like that, but all right. So that's how you zoom in. You just get your finger on your phone or on your mouse on your computer, or whatever, and pinch out, and you can watch these videos in full screen and nice, perfect quality. But okay, so we're here to listen to Jim Ross make an announcement, and this has to do with Diesel and Razor Ramon, which is weird because as we just saw before we did our review, those guys are on WCW Nitro every week with the NWO storyline, and they have taken over. But here's what Jim Ross has to say.
You know, Kevin, I've been in this great sport over 20 years, and right here tonight, I am going to break the biggest story of my broadcasting career. Certainly the biggest story of the year in the WWF. This is going to be shocking. We'll have it all right here tonight.
He says he's going to make the biggest announcement of his career later tonight. All right, so later on in the show, Mankind is doing a squash match, and we hear Jim Ross finally make his big announcement. So this is during Mankind's match.
Well, no, it's not, Kevin. The breaking story we talked about earlier in the program that I really believe will be the biggest story of the year in the World Wrestling Federation is this. Big Daddy Cool Diesel and the bad guy, Razor Ramon, are on their way back to the World Wrestling Federation. I have that on very good authority from some very reliable sources.
Very reliable sources. Unbelievable news. Kevin Kelly says that is unbelievable news. He seems a little skeptical, but okay.
That would be Mankind, Alex the Pug.
What an incredible story that would be. I don't know about Kevin Kelly selling this here, but God, Jim Ross is doing some Tony Schiavone here, some AEW Tony Schiavone, where he'll just say whatever the hell they ask him to say, I guess, right? So that's the storyline here. Let me take this TV off. So Jim Ross promoting that Diesel and Razor Ramon are going to come back. So reviews. I have reviews on this. This completely blew my fucking mind, because how the hell is Razor Ramon and Diesel supposed to come back to the WWF when they're on WCW? Vlad gave this a thumbs up. Robert gave this a thumbs up. I guess you guys think this is an exciting idea or something. But we do have some comments, so I'll read through your comments that you gave. So you guys obviously know what happens in this. So Vlad says, I'm going to give a thumbs up for the announcement. So I guess you thought it was kind of interesting at the time. But a thumbs down for what actually ended up happening. And Robert said, thumbs up if I reviewed this at the time of the announcement, but 2 thumbs down reviewing it retrospectively. So as we all know, they brought in a Diesel fake and a Razor Ramon fake, just some sort of lookalikes. Not even, I don't know if they looked alike really, but they just wore their costumes. And was Glenn
Kane
Jacobs?
Was, yeah.
Yes. Glenn Jacobs was Diesel.
Okay. All right. Well, if anyone wants to make comments about this, I know I read your comments, but if you have any extra comments to make, now's the time. Let's go with Vlad first.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it was obviously at the time a shocking thing for him to say, because I think everybody was questioning it. Even people in both companies were like, wait, what? Even people at WCW were like, wait, are those guys leaving? They just got here. People didn't really understand what was going on. But, yeah, it ended up being pretty awful for the WWF. It made them look pretty petty and pretty stupid, to be honest. But at that time, it was very interesting. Like, everybody was like, whoa, what? But yeah, I'll leave it if Robert has any comments.
Robert, do you have any comments? Because I have a comment.
Pretty much what Vlad said. I mean, it was a really bad idea by WWF. They were called WWF at that time, but very, very bad idea. I don't know what the heck they were thinking. But yeah, if I was, at that time hearing that, I would have been like, "Oh, what? How is that gonna work?" And of course, that was all just a plan for us to tune in, right? But yeah, what ended up happening, horrible.
Well, I gave this and our rating system blew my mind, which is our highest possible rating on our Malapert Smark review system, which I will pull up again. It's all the way at the top, plus 10, mind completely blown, which honestly I think it's a little bit of a sarcastic review. Looking back on it, obviously it was kind of crazy to hear, what the hell, but it's also kind of stupid, really. It feels like WWF is really grasping at straws.
You're absolutely right.
Trying to come up with something to combat the fucking the role.
Yeah, they were getting their ass kicked pretty
They were getting their ass kicked, and the ideas they're coming up with are just they're struggling, man. I mean, last week what we saw. What were they in the creative room, and somebody come up with the idea, hey, what if Yokozuna goes back into Jim Cornette's stable? Like, okay, maybe that's okay, but God, you're so far off the mark compared to WCW. You know what I mean? And this is just like a desperate kind of grab for attention. When you see what was going on WCW's program, it was so top-notch and top level compared to this. This, like, WCW seemed like the more professional show at this point.
Which is amazing.
Yes.
Which is amazing in retrospect as well. But yeah, you're right.
Well, let me move on. A couple more storylines to get through. Brian Pillman, so Lexis King's dad.
Yep.
Robert. We're covering on the NXT show.
Watching the son and the father in the same week.
I know, it's kind of funny. But Brian Pillman, who died. He has passed on, obviously. He was a loose cannon, as they say. This is the first time we're seeing him on our podcast. It's the first time we're covering him. But basically, I think he comes out on commentary, and he was talking during that whole Stone Cold Mark Miro match, promoting the fact that he was in Stu Hart's dungeon, which I never knew that. That was a new thing to me. And that the Hart family were really close friends to him. And he claims that he's going to have an interview with Bret Hart at the next pay-per-view, which will reveal a lot about Bret's future, because people have been wondering about that. So, all right. So, little tidbit of a storyline, not really much. He just showed up on commentary and said what was going to happen. We have some reviews. All of us, a little half thumbs up, a little kind of liked it. So, I mean, it wasn't the craziest Brian Pillman. It wasn't the most charismatic Brian Pillman. But it was interesting. I think we also got, because Stone Cold was fighting, we got to mention that Stone Cold has been talking about how he wants to challenge Bret Hart from time to time. So that kind of comes up every now and again, and that's going to be a match for next year at WrestleMania. So, all right, Vlad, any comments on Brian Pillman's first appearance here on the Malapert Smark Podcast before I move on to Robert?
Yeah, I mean, Pillman, known as a crazy guy, and he really was a kind of a loony type of guy, but very entertaining, very interesting. I think he was in crutches because I think he just had a car accident, and that's why he wasn't able to wrestle, and that's why he was doing more of this other type of stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to think, but obviously the stuff that with Bret Hart is actually all leading up to some great stuff. The forming of the Hart Foundation, that whole stable, the feud with Austin, which is coming, all tremendous stuff.
Is Brian Pillman in the Hart Foundation?
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So he was in that whole group that forms. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was great stuff. And Pillman and Austin obviously have some history because they were like a tag team in WCW for a long time as the Hollywood Blondes, so that's another interesting tidbit for many years, But,
he didn't really talk about Austin while he was on commentary on this day.
Right. But, not on this day, but as the weeks go on, I think there'll be something going on with Austin and Pillman as well. But it was an interesting segment. I enjoyed it. I enjoy Pillman. I've always enjoyed him. I mean, he's nuts. Oh, he's absolutely crazy, but I enjoy him.
All right. Robert, do you want to make any comments on Alexis King's dad before we move along?
Not much. I mean, this is not the crazy Pillman that people really remember him as. We'll get there, but this is a much calmer version of him for now. And his connection to the Hart family, it's not that I didn't know. It's just, it's been so long that I kind of forgot. So that the stuff that he was saying on commentary was just, basically as a reminder for me, because I forgot about a lot of that stuff.
All right, cool. Well, let me move on. I got a couple more storylines to get through before I let you guys go home and go to sleep. This is the one watch along I want to do for the day. This was my favorite segment of the day. So I'll just do the one segment where Mark Henry and Jerry the King Lawler. So King is here to interview Mark Henry, who is new to the show. He showed up at SummerSlam and I think at last week's Raw, and he was in the Olympics. So if you guys don't mind, let's do a little watch along if anyone wants me to press pause. But I thought this segment was great, so I'm going to just play the whole thing, and this is the only thing from this show that we'll play, and the rest of it we'll just run through afterwards.
At SummerSlam. And you know what Jake the Snake at SummerSlam had in common with the Olympics? No. They both got bombed. Show a little respect, Lawler, please.
Jesus Christ. Well, I think King had a match with Jake the Snake where he tried to pour alcohol down his throat because Jake is a sober person at this point. So that was a heel King Lawler thing to do. This is the first really King Lawler promo that I'm playing on this podcast too. So this,
if he said that today, he would have been canceled.
Oh my!
It's like a whole different time today.
Yeah. Not only did he say it, the way he laughed afterwards.
Right. Oh yeah, he definitely would have been canceled today if he said that.
The thing with Lawler is he's amazing at getting heat. Like he's old school completely. Like if you've ever watched some of the older stuff with Lawler, even in his WWF early days, like he's just great at getting heat. He's a great heel. Tremendous. Yeah. I mean, that was a stiff shot. Woo. Just because the bombing in the 96 Olympics had just happened recently, so that was woo.
Yeah.
All right, let me move on to what happens with Mark Henry, because this is pretty stiff too.
Yeah, you're the strongest man in the world, and yeah, you competed in the Olympics. You represented the United States in weightlifting. But you know what? Now you've signed a contract with the World Wrestling Federation. And you haven't even had one match yet, and you're already making a lot of people mad. You made me mad at SummerSlam, and believe it or not, you even made Jake the Snake mad. Because you see, when I was pouring that bottle of booze down Jake's throat, and you came up from behind and grabbed it out of my hand, Jake wasn't finished drinking it. He got real mad. And then...
So last Monday we were wondering if Mark Henry had done anything. I think that was his first appearance really at SummerSlam. We got involved with that King Lawler and Jake the Snake match, so they reviewed that for us.
You even got in the face of the man they call Vader?
This we saw last week.
What's the matter with you? Are you crazy? I'm not crazy at all. Personally, I don't like you very much. I don't like Vader very much. And there's a lot of others here at the World Wrestling Federation that I don't particularly care for. Oh, is that so? Well, let me tell you something, world's strongest man, Mr. Olympian, and the new member of the World Wrestling Federation. You know what I want to do? I want to challenge you to a match. No, wait a minute. You know what? See, because I know you haven't been drinking. No, hold on. Hold on now. Listen, no, listen to me. You don't know anything
like I told you, if you want to fight, bring it on. Ain't nothing but air and opportunity.
That's pretty brave of King to challenge the world's strongest man.
Hold it.
Mm.
You don't seem to understand, big guy. I'm not talking about a street fight. You didn't join the World Street Fighting Federation. You joined the World Wrestling Federation. And I'm challenging you to a wrestling match.
You know, and these people know, that I've just recently signed, and I haven't had the proper work that I need. Being a professional athlete and an Olympian, I know when it's time for me to lift.
Oh, lame.
It's time for me to wrestle, and I'm just not ready right now.
Just do it, bro.
There'll be a day.
Well, in other words, you're not ready because you haven't trained enough. You know what? I think you should have won a gold medal at the Olympics. You should have won a gold medal for being the biggest coward there. What? Oh, look at him ball up his fist. I think you're yellow. If you want, accept it.
Do you want to wrestle? If you want to wrestle, you got you understand me? You want to wrestle? It's on.
Yeah. Oh. So you're accepting my challenge to a wrestling match, huh?
And I tell you what, when I'm done, you're going to get one gold medal, butt kick.
All right, I think the King, JR, may have really overstepped his bounds on this one. Well, I don't know. You never underestimate the King.
Man, I really liked how, let me move back to the bigger screen here. I really liked how King switched all of a sudden from being like a arrogant guy to being like a weaselly scared guy as soon as he got grabbed. I thought that was a good turnaround. But anyways, I'm going to go to our reviews on this to see what you guys thought of it. Let's see. I'm the only one who gave it a 2 thumbs up. I really liked it. To me, this was my favorite scene from the day. Therefore, our only watch-along of the day today. Vlad and Robert, a thumbs up. Interesting early segment for the world's strongest man to see him have a promo battle with Jerry the King Lawler. So I'll start with Robert. Thoughts on Mark Henry?
That's not someone I'd want to pick a fight with, so I don't know what
for real.
what Lawler was thinking. But yeah, I mean, it was hilarious. I mean, if you're gonna challenge someone, then like if they accept the challenge, why are you all of a sudden acting scared? I thought that was kind of silly, but it was still hilarious.
It was pretty hilarious. Yeah, it was perfect. I liked it a lot. Vlad, thumbs up from you. Anything you want to say about the world's strongest man and Jerry the King Lawler here?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to see, Mark Henry's basically debut in wrestling. I mean, we know of him now and everything that he's done, and he's had a pretty good career as a wrestler, champion a couple times over. But yeah, I mean, this was interesting. I mean, he was still learning the business here. He was still trying to understand. Putting him with Lawler in his first feud or his first program, I thought it was a good idea because why not put him with a veteran, a guy that could kind of help him along and get him through some segments and probably get him to a pretty easy match, I would think. And yeah, good stuff, funny stuff. And Lawler's great. Yeah, I mean, Lawler's just he's the king of getting heat.
King of a very basic wrestling segment, but he made it work very well. All right, a couple more storylines here before we get out of here for this Monday night. Mankind versus a jobber. I'm going to skip that. Although Mankind does come back again later in the night during the Shawn Michaels match because he has a world title match with Shawn Michaels coming up at the pay-per-view. So we'll just get to that when we get to it. But the one thing before that happens is a very strange segment that happened between Bob Backlund and the Iron Sheik.
Oh, brother.
I know. I'm not going to play any of this, but I'll just show you some pictures.
Thank God.
Of what happened. Bob Backlund came out. I don't really know why. He says he's going to have, like, proteges. He's going to be a manager.
Yeah, I guess. I can't remember who this was.
And he introduces the Iron Sheik as being, like, one of the trainers for his stable, which is very weird because the Iron Sheik was the guy who beat him for the title. Excuse me. Another instance of WWF grasping at straws. Like, who is in the creative room going, you know what we should do? We should team up Iron Sheik and Bob Backlund. like this is gonna like fucking go up against the NWO storyline in WC. This is really weird. But anyways, so Backlund introduces Iron Sheik, who comes out with the Iranian flag with the Ayatollah on it, which is pretty hilarious. And then the Iron Sheik proceeds to cut a promo that I think gets cut off. He just starts rambling and talking, and they just go to commercials because they're like, dude, this show is only an hour. Like, we can't let this guy just talk forever. You know what I mean?
Oh, my God.
Anyways, let's see what reviews you guys have on this thing. Let's see. I gave it... Vlad actually gave it a half thumbs up, and I gave it a thumbs up. Robert's the only one who wouldn't give it any type of positive rating. I mean, I gave it a thumbs up just because historically it's so strange, like to see Backlund and Iron Sheik. I guess I see the historical significance of how crazy that is. But overall, it wasn't really a good segment, and I don't know if it leads to anything. But let me see. I'll read my comment. This was awful, but still a pretty wild idea for Backlund to align with Sheik, considering the history. But man, this is old history. Maybe not what they should be digging up to combat the NWO storyline. Vlad said Sheik was just rambling nonsense, so I got a laugh out of that. Okay.
That's the only reason I gave it a half thumbs up.
All right. If anyone has any other comments before I move on to the main event, now is your chance.
Well, yeah, real quick. I think. I just want to say real quick about this. I think you're definitely onto something in the sense of they really were not stuff that they needed to put on if they wanted to compete with what WCW had going with this whole NWO angle, right? Like stuff from the 70s, 80s, right? No, this was in the 80s, right? So, come on. I mean, what? Bob Backlund and Iron Sheik? I know Backlund has been a character even like during the early 90s as well as a heel, but man, this just, I don't even know what this was and why it was allowed to happen. But anyways, all right, I'll leave it at that. It was
these are like good. Old guys who are struggling to figure out how to be cool with the new generation. You know what I mean?
But I don't think. I mean, I don't think you can really use Sheik in any role because he's just rambles incoherently. Just talked about how he was this amazing Olympian. Like, who cares? Like, what is the point of this thing?
I know. I guess some people think Iron Sheik is a draw. Maybe he gets all the Middle Eastern people.
He was a draw. He was a draw in the 80s. He was a draw. Yes.
But anyways, Iron Sheik, God rest his soul. Rest in peace, buddy. He was hilarious. He gave us a lot of good laughs, especially after his retirement. Some people might say his after wrestling career was more entertaining than his actual wrestling career when he got to curse and stuff on YouTube and shit. But anyways, moving along. The last storyline of the day, Goldust has a title match with Shawn Michaels, and Goldust has a loose alliance with Mankind, so Mankind kind of gets involved in this. But I do want to play one thing before I show this, what happens at the end of this match. I'm going to go into watch-along mode again. But this actually played at the very opening of the show.
Yes, I'm glad you said this. This was fantastic. This was tremendous. This was great.
This is tremendous? How is this tremendous?
I love this. I love this opening thing.
All right. Watch along mode, guys, pinch out if you need to zoom into that thing in the corner. The video is real tiny in the corner, but you could zoom in. So here is the opening segment, the opening video package for this main event that previews this main event and talks up Shawn Michaels is basically what happens. So listen to this.
When you think of a great champion, then this man naturally comes to mind.
What the fuck?
Strong, beloved, courageous, unquestionably one of a kind.
But this is why some people were saying that maybe, like, I've heard the rumor that Shawn Michaels was sleeping with Vince. I've heard that. Come on, why the hell else would there be why the hell else would there be a video like this? This is ridiculous. This is outrageous. This is like, I wouldn't even have this video for like my wife.
But that's still a bit of a stretch to say, though. Come on.
Yeah,
ever. Is it really? Let's listen to the rest of it.
When you think of the quintessential champion, then this man is indeed the antithesis. Vulgar, vicious, despised, a lunatic on the fringe of magnificence. Like Shawn Michaels, he too exudes confidence. Like the champion, he too is a tremendous ring tactician. But his cherished battleground is his opponent's fragile psyche, a war zone where insecurity leads the mutiny and ego is shattered like a bone. Call him weird, repulsive, psychotic. After tonight, we may all have to call him champion.
Dustin Rhodes. So Dustin Rhodes gets a title shot tonight as Goldust. But all right, who wants to comment on, the Shawn Michaels portion of them making Shawn Michaels out to be like the freaking greatest thing in history for some reason?
Oh, he's their world champion. I didn't get that.
I didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I didn't have the whole vibe. He's their world champion. I didn't get the whole thing like, well, that proves it. Vince and Shawn were having some homosexual affair. No, I don't think so. Just because of that.
I didn't say it proves it. I just said it makes me think about it.
No,
I don't know how that would make you think of that.
It didn't make me think of it at all. But
it didn't make me think of it.
I actually liked that opening thing. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I like the music in the background that they have going, and like whoever's doing the narration. I don't know who that is actually. But I know he's done some other narration in there during that time. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was.
All right, Robert, do you want to comment before I move on to the match? You didn't think anything weird of that. You just thought it was
No, okay. But I do think it's what I did think was interesting as far as the timing of us watching this, because the day before I watched SmackDown, and the last segment that featured Cody Rhodes was the announcement that Shawn Michaels was going to be in the contract signing, and now I'm transitioning to this. Shawn Michaels in a segment with his older brother. I thought that was interesting, but no, I have no problem with this. This is gives like a very 90s vibe. That was the type of thing that happened back then. I didn't see any problem with it.
Role model. When you think of champion, you think of the guy on the cover of Playboy magazine.
They didn't say role model. They did not say role model. Okay. They just said champion. They didn't say role model.
All right. Well, listen. As the match started, they had to mention that Shawn Michaels was in Playgirl, which I think was an adult magazine for women. So I don't know if he was naked in there or anything, but
I don't know either.
I don't care to.
Luckily, I never saw that.
Bro, he was naked on WWF television. Like, his ass was always out there.
I guess that's true. So you're saying why would
how many times did The Undertaker pull his pants down? Well, anyways.
Let's try again. Okay. Well, you got me there.
Dustin Rhodes. This is his one. I don't know if this is his one chance at a WWF title, but it is a title shot for him as Goldust. I don't know. Looking back on these Goldust clips, it doesn't seem like his heart is really into this character. I think he's just doing it for shock value. If he really loved it, I think he'd be doing it to this day. But, anyways, Mankind.
He loved it, but...
Do you want to hear Mankind's promo during the match? I guess we could play that.
Sure.
Mankind is out there in the back, and supposedly he's got his eyes on Shawn Michaels because they have a title match coming up.
Are both on their way back to the World Wrestling Federation. Where is he?
Gonna surprise you.
Okay, well, we can't really see his face. For anybody who's just listening.
Well, this is a little bit strange. I don't know where...
That's it. That's all it was. I got a surprise.
What the hell? Oh, Jesus,
that was it. Awful. Yeah, I don't know. That was not a good promo. But okay, so end of the match. Marlena's up on the apron, but that doesn't lead to helping Dustin Rhodes win. She tries to help him. She's been known for getting up on that apron and taking her top off. Maybe she could have done that in this title match to try to help Goldust win.
Yeah, but not at this time, though.
Yeah, I'll play the ending sequence. Let's do it as a watch-along to see how Shawn Michaels ends up getting the pin. I don't know what this move is. It's like a top rope.
He calls it the curtain call.
The curtain call? Okay.
Yeah.
backflip off the top rope, and that got him the 3 count. Yeah, it looked like he kicked out kind of right there. I don't know. Should I play that again?
I think it was fine.
All right, maybe the audio's a little delayed too on this old tape, but okay. So it's a retain for Shawn Michaels, and after the match, Mankind comes in because I think Mankind and Goldust have some kind of loose alliance, and when they were going to double team Shawn Michaels runs out of the ring, and Jose Lothario tells him to kind of just, take it easy for the moment. And Paul Bearer is there, and they're ready to take on Shawn Michaels at the pay-per-view. All right, so that'll conclude our review of Raw. Let me see what our reviews were for this main event angle. Let me see. I had an indifferent. I didn't really care for it because I didn't think Goldust was going to win the title. Even if I was watching back then, I wouldn't have thought Goldust was going to win the title. Yeah, Vlad liked it. Robert liked it. I got a comment from Vlad. Good television title match and good advertising for the matches in your house. Okay. So, Robert, I'll let you comment, and then I'll let Vlad finish off the show. So, the main event match, I know you watched this show earlier today. You have any comments on it? And then I'll let Vlad talk, and then I'll get overall comments on Raw afterwards.
I'll keep it brief. It was just a very solid match. Not much to say. Basically what I'd expect for Shawn Michaels and Goldust for this time period. So, yeah, overall not bad.
All right, and then Vlad, do you have any other comments? And if you don't, I will ask for your overall comments on this episode of Raw.
Well, yeah, two things. The match was solid. It was 2 really good workers. Obviously, we know Shawn Michaels, but I think Dustin Rhodes is a very underrated worker, very solid, and has always been good. The thing that you said about the Goldust character, I don't completely agree. I think he gave a lot to the character. I mean, for what it was. I mean, it wasn't his idea. I don't think anybody would have wanted to be Goldust, But he did a lot with it, I felt, as much as you could, given the limitations of the character and what they were asking him to do, So I thought he did well. And it was good match to end the show.
Okay, and then what about the show on a whole? I guess this is a 1 hour episode of Raw. Maybe if you can come up with a rating on our review system for it. Was it a good show? Did you like it? Did you really like it? Did you hate it? What do you think?
Well, I didn't hate it, so it would be probably like we're using the reviews like the half of a thumb.
Yeah. You could do a half thumbs up. Did you kind of like this show?
Yeah, I would say there wasn't anything special about it, that's for sure. But half a thumb is fine.
I think I liked it, especially for that King Lawler and Mark Henry segment, and then the Stone Cold match. I know you thought the ending was weird, but I thought it was a well-worked match, and I just, I like seeing Stone Cold, even though he fucking fucked up and lost that match. He's just crazy. What else? Well, those are my 2 favorite segments. So I'm gonna give this show a liked it. I'll give it a +1. Robert, what do you think?
I'll give it a half thumbs up. Last week I made a comment saying, that I look back on this time period very fondly, but when I actually rewatched the episodes, it wasn't really that great. And this episode didn't really do anything to change my mind about that. I still stand by what I had said last week. It was just okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're up against some stiff competition too. Even if you're kind enough to give it a liked it, what WCW was on Nitro with Sting stealing the cop car and Giant joining NWO, that was fire. That was a fire episode. So, all right then. I think that'll conclude our reviews for the day. Let me go to our final page, and then I don't have anything else to say. I think I'm gonna just say that I'm happy that Vlad and Robert are here, my 2 best friends. As I was leaving work and coming home to record this podcast, I'm like, this is going to be a nice little hangout. So thank you guys for being on. I mean, who else would come on with me and watch old-ass fucking wrestling tapes from 1996?
Somebody would.
I don't know. Maybe, but...
Some wrestling fans would, maybe.
All right. Well, let me thank you guys, and I'm going to say to the audience, let me remind you guys, you got to subscribe. So the subscribers have been... The subscriber number have been going up steadily, especially last week. I think a lot of people have been into these classic clips, so this is going to be good. And, we're just going to go through it slow like this. Why not? One show at a time, because sometimes it's overwhelming. There's so much wrestling. But, I think if we do it like this, 2 or 3 years later, we'll have covered a lot of ground. So, and this was kind of easy going, just a 1 hour show. So it was fun. And then if anyone has any, review posts. I'll post the links to all our recent reviews in the description of this video, but you can always go to our YouTube tabs post to see all of the recent posts and all the recent videos as well with Vlad and Robert and myself. So, Malapert Smark Podcast, baby. We're rising. We're almost at 500 subscribers. Almost there. I think we're like 23 away. Something like that. So,
no, it's good. We're moving at least towards the goal. That initial goal.
It's getting there.
Yeah.